Iris Shepard Lambert.
Dr. Barton's told me much about you. Your brother, he's quite sick.
You can help him.
I'm hosting a dinner party tomorrow night, and I'd like you to join us. I mean, there'll be other guests there. People who just haven't received a fair shake in life. And the evening will culminate with a game.
A contest.
Each player will be given a choice between A or B.
What the hell is this?
Decision-making in its rawest form. Would you rather electrocute yourself?
Oh, no, I see where this is going.
Or
I don't think I can do this either.
15 seconds. Go.
Surprisingly enough, this movie is actually pretty good. The basic premise is Brittany Snow plays this mid-20s, late 20s, unemployed college dropout who her parents recently died, I guess, within the last few years. And her brother needs a bone marrow transplant. He has some form of cancer or some disease, and he sees himself as a bit of a burden on Brittany Snow. But she gets called up to the clinic where I assume she's dealing with her brother's issues, and Jeffrey Combs is there. And Jeffrey Combs is like, hey, I run this institute, and we're interested in helping you and your brother and dealing with your financial woes and help deal with his medical issues. And so the stipulation is she has to go to a dinner and she has to entertain a game at this dinner, and she doesn't really, like, he doesn't give any details beyond that. It's just, hey, come to our dinner and play our game, and you might have a chance to pay for your brother's bone marrow transplant, basically. And so it's a very nicely paced movie. It's a very quick movie. It's 90 minutes long. But, you know, there's not a lot of hesitation. She decides to go, and she gets to the dinner, and as the dinner progresses, and not in a slow way, right away, things are off at this dinner. And very quickly we get into the game of Would You Rather. It's a very malicious, sinister game of Would You Rather, and basically the movie is basically these 8 people at a table playing a game of Would You Rather, but it's a torture porn movie, more or less. And it's not a torture porn movie in the sense of, it's not as gruesome as like a Saw movie or something like the Serbian film, but these people are literally torturing each other. Like, for one round, the first round the game is like either one person and the person next to them has electrodes attached to their head, and it's like either you can electrocute yourself or you can electrocute yourself or the person next to you, and you have 15 seconds to decide, either you or the person next to you go. And you know, the game progresses that way. In the second round, it's this like African whipping cane and the ice pick. Like, are you going to stab the person to your right or whip the person to your left? And that's basically how the game progresses. It progresses, and these people are pretty much, they're actually torturing each other, which is why I'm calling it a torture porn. And it's more of like a thriller than it is a horror movie, and it has a deeply comedic tone to everything. But if you want to say it's a black comedy torture porn thriller, I guess now we have that genre to say that it exists now, and we can now make movies like that now. So thank you, Would You Rather. You have introduced this new genre that hopefully a lot of people capitalize on. But the movie is just it's a tight script, and it's very well paced, and there's a nice escalation to the stakes, and you know, how brutal these games are, and how, like, the rounds as they progress, they do get more violent and more gruesome, and it's a nice progression, and it feels like a natural progression, and a lot of the actors in this movie do a great job. Jeffrey Combs he's like, this is one of the best Jeffrey Combs performances I've seen in years. It might be as good as, you know, him when he was in Re-animator, which is right there. Herbert West, when he was Herbert West. This might be as This might be like the best performance since the original Re-Animator for him, and Brittany Snow is great in it. John Hurt is in this movie. Haven't seen him in a lot of things since Chud and the first season of The Sopranos, and that was like 15 years ago this first season of Sopranos came out. And he's great in this movie as well. His role is only pretty much like a cameo, more or less, but it's great, really. He's a great part of the movie. His character, actually, when you're introduced to his character actually turns out to be completely right about everything they think. He's the paranoid conspiracy theory guy. Brittany Snow is really good in this movie. I don't know who a lot of the actors are in this movie. They're the type of actors that look very familiar, and I'm pretty sure one of them was some guy from one of the Saw films. But it's all really good. It's all really good acting. Of course, that kind of leads us to Sasha Grey. I'll talk about Sasha Grey, and then I'm going to get into a little bit spoilery, but just because I want to talk about the way the violence is in this movie, and I also want to talk about the directing, but Sasha Grey is not a good actress. And it's kind of the thing, like, I haven't seen The Girlfriend Experience, but a lot of people have said some very, very vitriolic things about the Girlfriend Experience. And I don't think that movie will sway my opinion about her, but it's like she delivers dialogue like she's never talked to a person before. It's all very, like, angular. It's all very jagged. It doesn't feel natural. It feels like it's coming out of a person who's never, like, talked to anyone before, never had a real conversation. Sasha Grey is going to have a fucking terrible career because no one is ever going to get over the fact that she was in porn 5 years ago. So she will have these movies like this. She will. But it's not going to be a lasting thing. The whole era of porn stars being able to do porn and crossing over into the mainstream is kind of over nowadays, especially with how, like, conservative we're getting as a society, because we are getting more conservative as a society on the local level. Look it up. But yeah, Sasha Grey. Okay, fuck it. I'm just gonna get into a bit of the spoilers here. The violence in this movie is not that violent, which I was very surprised at. For one instance, one of the characters has to blow up a firecracker, or like an M80 in their hand, basically. Like, whatever. They have to blow up an M80 in their hand, and the guy's hand explodes, and it's just like, he has nothing. But he falls on the ground, and he dies of a heart attack. And the movie is kind of like that. It has, like, it kind of shows how the human body can only put up with so much before it breaks down throughout the movie. And so a lot of the violence and a lot of the deaths kind of go that way. And if you need the big brutal deaths, then you're kind of going to be disappointed, because it's more realistic than most other torture porns or horror movies nowadays. But Sasha Grey's death is stupid because, and it's not that it's stupid, it's just that her fucking performance in her own death is, like, very unconvincing. She has to get her head held in a barrel full of water for 4 minutes, which kill most people. But when she's drowning, and her character, this does kill her. When she's drowning, her character still has her hands on, like, the rim of the barrel, but she's just, like, jerking around going like this. It's like she's not even struggling. She's not even, like, ripping at the guy and trying to get him off of her, because she's being held down by the big, like, brute butler that they had, who apparently worked for MI5. I guess we had to know that. But, like, she's not struggling. She's not doing anything. She's just, like kind of accepting it. It's just like, watch Clockwork Orange. Watch Malcolm McDowell's performance when he's being drowned in that trough. He's fucking, like, he was actually dying when they filmed that scene. He was actually being drowned, and you can fucking tell. He's freaking out. Okay, Sasha Grey? You should be freaking the fuck out when you're drowning. It's an involuntary thing that happens. It's an involuntary response. It's a survival instinct. You have, like, demonstrated that your character had none of that. So you have demonstrated that your character is not a human. You're a bad actress, Sasha Grey. What are you doing? Go back to porn. James Dean doesn't have a problem doing both. Why don't you? Or try your rap actress or rap career again. Let's see where that goes. I'm sorry, Sasha Grey. I don't need to be mean right now. But but she's not good in this movie, and she's probably not a very good actress, and she's not a good actress. But really quick, the directing in this movie, honestly, that's the two strongest things about this movie. Or the three strongest things about this movie is the tight script, the good acting, and the pretty solid, very tight, kind of locked down, kind of mini David Fincher directing. Which, if that's what this guy wants, because the first, why I think this guy is kind of trying to be David Fincher is the opening credit sequence is this X-ray of a hand, and it's filmed in kind of, you go through the crevices of the bones and stuff, kind of like in the opening credit sequence to Fight Club when you're coming out of the fear center of the brain and out of the pore in the forehead. If there's actually a fear center of the brain, I'm sorry I did that. But it's very reminiscent of that. So in the entire style, the way the camera moved, like the blocking of the scenes, and like everything with the directing, the composure of the shots, just the general look and feel and tone to the film had a very like David Fincher kind of thing going on to it. So hey, dude, I don't mind that. Hey, if you want to, like, David Fincher, I kind of don't think he has a problem with horror movies. The Game can be considered a psychological horror movie. Fight Club is probably one of the most subversive mainstream movies ever made, so, I mean, the guy probably has no problem with more extreme, more fringe genres and concepts. So, hey, if you want to be the director who wants to be like David Fincher, I have no problem with like that. The horror director who wants to be like David Fincher, that's fine. I would recommend Would You Rather. I really would. Go out and see it, or watch it on demand like I did. It's a good movie. It's really worth seeing. It's a good movie with good direction, a tight script, and really good acting, and not over-the-top gore, not too brutal. You feel the pain, you feel the violence, but it's realistic. It's not like, oh, we're gonna cut the tendons and then rip out your teeth and then cut off your eye, and it doesn't escalate like, oh, the first round you rip off a fucking fingernail and then next round you cut off a leg. It doesn't escalate like that. It does it properly. It's a well-told story, and it's a good horror story. It's a good horror thriller, and it has torture elements, and it has a couple stray plot threads here or there that I guess don't really need to be there. It kind of has a Dick Halloran subplot from The Shining going on with another doctor who breaks into the place. I don't know if that needed to be there. It didn't really lead to anything, honestly. Oh, Jeffrey Combs has a son in it, and the son, that actually, he is one of those actors, along with the butler, who, the son and the butler are those actors that, like, you see them in a lot of things, but you're just like, oh, who is that guy? And you're not really sure who they are, but they're really good in everything they're in, and they're really good in this. Yeah, go out and see Would You Rather. It's definitely worth seeing. So, the Oscars are tonight, though. Just when I thought I was having a good weekend.